Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Constructors Couch on behalf of the West Company of Constructors. My name is Paul Singh, and I'm delighted to be interviewing our talented scholars about their upcoming research. Next up is Martha Godina. Morning, Martha.
Morning.
How are you today? Very good.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Martha has an interdisciplinary background with a bachelor's degree in architecture, a postgraduate degree in lightweight roof structures, and a PhD in structural engineering focused on bamboo as a construction material. She has been interested in sustainable construction for many years at different stages of her career. She started working in architecture and also has a postdoctoral research experience working with natural building materials and structures. Martha is now a graduate structural engineer at Elliott Wood, which she joined in 2020, and engaged with an R&D project looking into applying circular economy principles to existing building structures. Thanks for joining us on our virtual couch, Martha. So first of all, tell us about your research.
Thank you, Paul. My research looks into the barriers and opportunities of reclaiming structural timber from existing building structures and repurposing this structural timber as opposed to recycling or downcycling, which basically decrease the value of the material itself. And by repurposing, I mean mainly two different options, which is reusing the material for its same purpose. So for example, reclaiming a timber joist and reusing it as a timber joist, or perhaps upcycle the material. So taking a bunch of timber joists and then upcycle them into CLT or possibly into glulam beams. And this is basically just kind of in line with the circular economy principles for the construction sectors. One of the main aims is to reduce waste and to reuse materials to keep them like in circulation for as long as possible.
No, I like that. So with the circular economy, I think it's brilliant. So it's brilliant to apply to economic development, and because a lot of people think recycle, and they don't. You know, the first repurposing and reusing is not something. It's like secondary. So, do you think what do you think the main hurdle is for people not repurposing timber? Do you think it's a lack of knowledge or a lack of awareness, or is there something else at play, in your opinion?
I think from what I gathered so far from the different interviews that I've been having, is mainly the lack of actual supply chains that could enable that. Because, for instance, on one hand, it's more difficult to deconstruct something to actually reuse the material because it takes more time, and therefore it takes, of course, more money. And if you wanted to actually reuse something, you need to take those things into consideration. But it's interesting to see that some of the interviews mentioned that in the past, like 20 years ago, perhaps, or something like that, this was really common. So we actually wanted to go back then to try to reuse more. And one of the things is that perhaps at least here in the UK, because the research is focused on the reclaiming and repurposing here in the UK, the high labor cost doesn't allow that, because the construction something safely and then clean it, denail it, and all those things, it just takes time. So
do you think it takes, it's a lot of time during the planning and design phase, isn't it, really? And do you, so you'd say, because most construction projects are notorious for scrimping on the design and planning phase and just going straight to construction. And I think, because obviously, you know, it's about money issues and time issues, and that's where a lot of the hurdle, in my opinion, just listening to this, is a lot of the hurdles come from that, because there's a lot of planning to, you know, if you want to design a building that for the fact that the materials can be repurposed, then you're going to have to think about it a lot before you even design. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's correct. I think that designing for the construction is probably something that it's, I will consider that like something like from another topic, in the sense that I'm only focusing on reclaiming materials from existing building structures. But Yeah, you're correct. So designing for the construction, it takes more time because you actually need to kind of develop or design like a kit of parts that could later be safely and easily deconstruct so that they can later be reused, and possibly with a kind of material passport attached to each of the elements so that we have all the information, because that's one of the other kind of challenges or barriers, that we deconstruct something, but even if we manage to deconstruct it safely, we don't know the materials, the material properties. So we need to invest money and time on that as well.
Fantastic. Your skills and experience tie in nicely with your research. Where did the passion for the subject come from?
I think that, I mean, I've been involved in the built environment for many years. I mean, all my career in different areas, but I think especially in this point in time, we have like a very big responsibility of actually looking into our processes, our work, our designs to find kind of strategies or different ways that help us mitigate the impact of our work in the climate change, because we are at a really critical point. And whilst this is not going to solve everything at all, it's just kind of a little one small step towards it. And yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, and just focusing on a natural material that is regarded as one of the most sustainable at the moment, I think that it could have like higher impact later on.
Yeah, no, I think you've picked a really good, really, I don't know, it's quite insightful, in fact, with the subject that you've picked, and you were saying about how you know, it's a small subject, but to be honest, it's actually a massive subject. But if one person picks, as you say, the smaller subjects or the small subjects, then you know it takes a lot of people. So these people can change the bigger problem, but obviously it's about the individuals. And I think I really admire this particular one. I think do you think what hope do you have in terms of the impact of your research on the wider sector, the wider construction industry? What impact do you hope it will have?
I'm hoping that the impact that we'll have will be reflected based on the evidence that I'm producing. Most of the research that I did, well, not most, all of the research that I did, it was mostly qualitative research. So it's not that I kind of came up with statistics or anything like that. It was more like in terms of the understanding of the whole processes. So, okay, what is happening, why this is not happening, what is it that currently happening during the demolition process and the construction process as well, and how can we actually implement reclamation from one side and reuse from the other, and to see the different views and the different both challenges and opportunities as well. Because I conducted interviews to demolition contractors, to main contractors, and to other stakeholders that are related to this topic as well.
I think that's amazing that you've done the qualitative route, because you know, with surveys and statistics, they're easy to manipulate. And when you're in front of a demolition contractor, you can see, you know, you can see all the things that they you know, to see that in between the lines, you know, all the things that are hidden. With statistics, it's really hard to gauge whether that's true and whether it's been exaggerated or not. And I love the fact that I didn't realize it was qualitative. I think it's a fantastic way to be. So what would you think is the most rewarding win during your research so far?
I think, I mean, I can think of two things. Personally, I think that I gain a lot of insight from just by listening to my interviewees. Yep. I think that all that kind of knowledge and experience from firsthand that I just kind of listened to, I think that was the most rewarding in that sense. On the other hand, I think that just the most rewarding in terms of the research itself is kind of to see together, like in one kind of small, I'm trying to do like a playbook, so something very condensed, so that I can put like in very high levels what are kind of the main takeaways.
Okay, cool. Do you think you've attained any specific skills during the process?
Yeah, definitely. I think that even though I have like a research background as well, it's the first time that I conducted actually qualitative research. So in terms of the data analysis and all the different ways to actually analyze the qualitative research data, sorry, and also the ways of actually structure interviews, to conduct interviews, which I never did before. So yes, definitely, I think I gain a lot of skills.
So the qualitative. So how did you? So there's a lot of transcripting, I guess. There's a lot of digging, going through all the transcripts. How did you? What specific method did you use to analyze the quantitative data? Was there a specific one you chose? Yep.
I use schematic. I can separate them into two. So I have two different types of interviews. So the interviews that I conducted with the demolition contractors and the main contractors, I use thematic analysis. So that means that, yes, I went through the transcript, kind of make like an automatic transcript. I kind of make my own transcript just because they're not really perfect. So I just kind of highlighting the important bits. And basically we need to identify like the main topics and then start relating, putting together the information from all of the demolition contractors to came up with the main conclusions, and the same with the main contractors. But since I conducted another interviews and together with the literature review, once I have this data, I did some triangulation between all this information to conclude everything. So.
Fantastic. Well, I've got a last question for you. How has the West Company Constructors helped you during this scholarships program?
I think, to be honest, they have been really, really useful. We have had like many kind of scholars sessions with myself and the other scholars as well. So we discuss our progress and we get to see the progress of the other scholars. So that's really good, because we are basically not kind of we are of course working alone and everything, but we don't feel kind of, at least from my end, in kind of isolation or kind of alone or doing just the research by myself. So I think that they have been very helpful. They have organized as well some seminars in terms of research methods and analysis as well, and marketing and communication, which was, to be honest, completely new for me. So I think they have been always there, always kind of saying, okay, please do ask if you need any help or whatever. So I think, I think they have been really, really useful.
Arthur, that's been a really great insight, and I really admire your passion and your knowledge in this particular subject. I thank you for your time, and I wish you the best of luck in both your research and your career. You can see Martha as well as other scholars at our Zoominar on the 2nd of February 2022. And if you want more details of this event, or if you just want to leave a comment, please email at the email address you see on screen right now. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Martha. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you. Bye.